And now, Mr. Speaker, I have a thought I would like to repeat. Mr. Speaker, in 2012, the Supreme Court of the United States narrowly but specifically upheld the individual mandate at the heart of Obamacare, Congress's general taxing power. The Court noted specifically that, quote, even if the taxing power enables Congress to impose a tax on not obtaining health insurance, any tax must still comply with other requirements in the Constitution, unquote. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to read that one more time. Even if the taxing power enables Congress to impose a tax on not obtaining health insurance, any tax must still comply with other requirements in the Constitution, unquote. In short, Mr. Speaker, Obamacare was upheld as a tax. The Supreme Court did not and has not yet considered a challenge to the Affordable Care Act's taxing provisions on the grounds that it violated the Origination Clause in the United States Constitution. And, Mr. Speaker, it most certainly did exactly that. Mr. Speaker, the Origination Clause is found in Article 1, Section 7 of the Constitution, and it states, quote, all bills for raising revenue shall originate in the House of Representatives, unquote. In creating Obamacare, Senator Harry Reid took an entirely unrelated bill, H.R. 3590, containing just 714 words, and that did not raise taxes, and then he stripped it of everything but its bill number. He then put the 400,000-word Obamacare that raised taxes in 17 different places into this empty shell bill. Through this bit of legislative trickery, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Reid claims that Obamacare originated in the House, when in fact every last provision of Obamacare, including the largest tax increase in American history, all came from the Senate. Mr. Speaker, this sort of procedure absolutely ignores and vacates the Founders' intent, and it renders the Origination Clause of our Constitution completely meaningless. If it is allowed to stand, the Origination Clause in the Constitution is a dead letter, Mr. Speaker. And this is not a small or marginal issue. The principle behind the Origination Clause was the moral justification for our entire war of independence. Its importance was expressed through the Virginia House of Burgesses, the Stamp Act Congress, and the First Continental Congress, all of whom petitioned the Crown and Parliament in England for redress of their tax grievances. It was with these realities in mind that the Origination Clause of our Constitution was written. And without it at the core of the Great Compromise of 1787, the 13 original states would never have agreed to ratify the Constitution of the United States. It is not a small issue, Mr. Speaker, and when our Founding Fathers wrote the Constitution, they knew it was vital for the power to raise and levy taxes to originate in the People's House, whose members are closest to the electorate with 2-year terms, rather than the Senate, whose members sit unchallenged for 6-year terms, and who do not proportionally represent the American population, and who already enjoy their own unique and separate Senate powers intentionally divided by the framers between the two chambers. If we as members of the House of Representatives who took a solemn oath to support and defend the Constitution, including its Origination Clause, fail to assert this right and this responsibility as immediate representatives of the people and those most accountable to them, Mr. Speaker, we dishonor the Founders' memory and we fundamentally abrogate our sworn oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Mr. Speaker, this fall, the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit will hear an appeal in the case of Sissel v. HHS as to whether Obamacare violates the Origination Clause of the Constitution. I would urge my colleagues to sign on to H.Res. 153 and to join me in an amicus brief that I will be filing with the Court along with currently 31 other members of Congress. This brief expresses our collective conviction that the passage of Obamacare was and is unconstitutional. Mr. Speaker, Obamacare was the largest tax increase in the history of the United States of America. The United States Supreme Court specifically and officially ruled it a tax. Consequently, under Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid, the House and the Senate, in passing it in the manner that they did, categorically violated the Origination Clause, without which the U.S. Constitution never would have been born in the first place. Mr. Speaker, it is now the duty of the judiciary to strike down Obamacare as a clear violation of the Origination Clause. By filing this amicus brief, we hope the judiciary will seize on the opportunity to support and defend the Origination Clause of this, our United States Constitution. Now, Mr. Speaker, if the judiciary does not strike down Obamacare as an unconstitutional Senate-originated tax, it would, Mr. Speaker, allow the Obama administration to blow yet another huge hole in the constitutional fabric of this noble republic. Mr. Speaker, Daniel Webster said something that I think applies so profoundly here. He said, "Hold on, my friends, to the Constitution and the republic for which it stands, for miracles do not cluster. And what has happened once in 6,000 years may never happen again. So hold on to the Constitution, for if the American Constitution should fall, there will be anarchy throughout the world." Mr. Speaker, we must defend this Constitution. We must, as the House of Representatives, do our part to uphold those privileges and responsibilities we have been given by the Constitution. And I hope we do it, sir. And I would thank you and yield back my time.
Back. Under the Speaker's